welcome to another edition of I'm Just Saying, Two Black Women with Opinions. I am one of your co-hosts, Adjoa Jones, and I have here with me my co-host.
Jan Robinson Flint. And I love I'm Just Saying Two Black Women with Opinions because I get a chance to chop it up with my co-host Adjoa Jones. And every now and then we bring in a guest who can chop it up with us. And today we have Cheyenne Pierce, who is a healer and was at a Black Women for Wellness Sisters at 8 event this morning. So our topic today is fierce aunties, perhaps healing aunties, ancestors, and abundance. So redefining abundance and what that means. Welcome, Cheyenne.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Cheyenne Pierce. I'm a native of Los Angeles. I I I'm the University of Southern California, where I practiced social work for many years. And through that, I've had the opportunity to work with various populations, starting with the incarcerated population. I've always worked with vets, and now just working in the community with everybody because I believe that you know, we had to reach everybody from generation to generation to generation. So this is what brings me here. I'm here on behalf of Bless and Abundance Healing. As she stated, excuse me, I'm also here on behalf of myself. I'm a sound healer, and that is Cione. Thank you.
So what do you do? I mean, you say you're a sound healer, and tell me what that means.
I want to go back to go forward.
Okay.
Okay. So
We've heard that concept.
absolutely, absolutely. I have a daughter. Her name is Kennedy, and I come from a generation of a family where the mothers and daughters are always at odds with one another. And when my daughter was born, I actually was afraid that I was gonna. When I found out I was pregnant, I was excited to have this healthy child, but I was afraid to have this daughter because of all of the trauma that I experienced with my mom and what she had experienced with her mother. And immediately I found myself going into this safe space and I said, no more, we're not doing it. Mm. How I got into sound is I took her to the doctor because she was crying and crying and crying. And I thought something was wrong. And I have a son, he cried, but this one cried differently.
Mhm.
And I think there was some transference happening. Now I can say that. I couldn't say that then. And I went and I said, she's not, colicky. She's this, she's that. She's she. Already pointing the finger, getting ready to build this relationship with my daughter that my mom had and that she had. And so the doctor looks at me, I look at her, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's going to give me something to help her sleep. And she wrote me a script on a piece of paper to a YouTube channel. And I looked at it and I was like, I cannot believe this. I've been waiting in the lobby all this time for you to tell me to go on YouTube.
I can do that in the lobby.
Hello? And you billing me? I was like, what is this? So
Question just real quick. Yes, it's a Black woman doc.
she was many Middle Eastern,
Mm-hmm.
Asian woman of color.
Okay.
And I was like, I cannot believe this. And I walked out and my life was forever changed because she loves white noise. My daughter loves white noise. That's and avoiding. I didn't do too much YouTubing, but I started to use white noise with my voice. Some YouTube because I had to work at night. But just holding her, and it brought us so much closer together.
Mm.
And so that going there, I realized that I started going to sound baths through Blessed and Abundance Healing. And I said, I want to do this because this is something that I need to own because of my daughter. Her name is Kennedy. I wear her name. This one right here. And we are just rock solid. And I don't see that going nowhere. And I remember, rest in peace, my mom passed away. And she didn't give me much credit. But I remember on her last day, I heard her on a phone call telling her girlfriends, Cheyenne is doing an amazing job with her daughter. And it was through sound. And did I think that? No, but it is a form of healing modality. We love music. I love to dance. I'm a whole different person when I dance. Right? We love music.
I can relate.
Come on. And it changed the whole relationship between she and I.
How old is Cheyenne? I'm Cheyenne. She's Kendi. I mean, Kendi, yes, he's 13.
Well, no,
She's 13, and
well, we'll see how this lands with this daddy. That was a difficult year that
I got put that out there. It's a chemical time. Because I'm raising her fault. I'm not mad at her. Man, you go, girl. Because I was told to, you cannot talk. You cannot, you don't have a voice in a non-direct way.
you're right.
But she
Mm.
is, I'm use her voice because because of the relationship that I built with her. Now, there are some times where I had to, I'm your mom.
Right.
We're gonna, but what she has is what she's gonna need to go out into the world, right, to continue to be strong. And I will not shrink her voice.
Absolutely.
But yes, that it is. Long story short, it started through my daughter, and so I went and I become certified sound healing through Blessed and Abundance Healing, and I've been able to share that gift with a lot of people. It helps you sleep better. It reduces high blood pressure. It honestly, it allows you to center yourself. And there's some sounds I play that bring us back to our utero.
Okay.
And that is the sound that my daughter has. It's a white noise in utero. So after being there for 9 months, she just didn't do so well out of that space. And so I just brought her back.
She did that.
She eat a bath. And so I also do a frame, a sound piece where I do meditation and bringing all of us back to our uteral state. Because what happens is we are the only animal that are held on till 18, 20, 25, 30 years old, that we hold them forever. Other animals come out locking, eating, and fighting. However, when we're held so long, we teach them fears. We teach them they can't. We teach them you can't do that, right? And so we take a lot of their strength away that you see in animals that walk and eat right out of the womb. Right. So I do the sound piece where I take them back and then I free you back to just being just amazing.
Me, you are serious. So you know, she's yeah. I got to jump in. I feel like double dutch you. I just had a quick question. How long generally are your sessions? Like say in a group setting?
It's how it's curated for whoever. Exactly. So like for today, I was told I had 10 to 15 minutes.
No, I think I might need you for 15 to 30 minutes on Thursday for a group. No, unshameless plug.
And then I've even done a couples sound up. Well, hey, there's something that's so connecting about that. And I just love it where you're there and I can see the pinkies locking. You reminded them of their promise to one another. And it is just it's a vibe. Such a
Now I like a vibe. So here's my question. So I've been to a number of sound baths now. And I guess they are all directed by the practitioner who's doing the sound. So I don't know if you could talk about the different types. Like I've been to a sound bath with a gong.
Okay.
I've been to sound baths with the remote. I've been to sound baths with wooden instruments, right? So what's the difference between the different sound baths or do they have a particular thing that they are all that each one goes into? Like say for instance if it's a gong or if it's ringing bowls.
Right. So a lot of the gongs are through the Tibetan culture. And even the crystal bowls are a part of the Tibet. They came from the Tibetan culture.
And I think really it's about who is doing it. And that's one thing about going to different sound baths. Because if you get the same sound bath over and over and over, it's like playing it, I won't say like repeating the record. So it's good to go experience different
Mhm.
forms of sound. But there's really no one thing. Maybe if one person incorporates certain instruments, maybe you'll hear more tribal sounds, where you hear more percussion. I've gone to them and I've heard some singing, which is nice. So it's really on who is uh, leading, absolutely.
How about the frequencies? Do you tend to use like what people healing hertz or the hertz frequency?
Yes. So the frequencies are all designed and aligned by those seven chakras. And I'll also try to be mindful because the frequencies can be very high. Oftentimes, where you have to be careful because the frequencies are so high. If you have like a mental device or a hearing aid,
Mm.
they could trigger that. Uh, also, then that's from more of a health perspective. Now, the other frequencies there are higher, and those start to resonate here with how we think. And oftentimes, those are the ones that hit our hearts a little harder. And you'll know those are brings us, if you've had people that you've had lost in your family, there's often times where I may have to pass out some tissue because it is a very emotional. So it all depends. I usually try to read the audience and to see which, um, you know, her to bring where they are. If it's a couples, I try to make it nice, sound sexy. If it's a group and they're open to whatever,
Mhm.
the journeys of the journey. The journey. I will also tell you, I'm very new to my practice. I started this year.
Okay.
And I love it. I don't like to say I'm new. I really have really studied this for longer than I played it, and I'm really excited to share this practice. I really truly am. Yeah.
Mhm, okay. So, I'm gonna ask you the next question, which I don't it might change it a little topic. I dig sound baths, right? And my question has to do with then you said ancestors. So how are our sound baths linking us or working with ancestors?
Because I can't say the actual sound bath,
Mhm.
but today I was blessed to have a drummer behind me. And if you knew what sounds meant to escape during our slave times and that music, that is how I was able to connect today. Like that drummer and behind me had the sound of
Was that a kill?
yeah, and I didn't know you for the very first time. So he actually helped me curate what I was going to stay today. And that room with our ancestors within that room in that space that I think about 85% of the construction workers were black, including my uncle who helped build that building.
Mm.
um Now I'm going to probably go on topic. So I'm a woman in my 50s now, and so I do a lot of sound healing and breathing to help reduce hot flashes. Okay. See,
Dr. Brothers. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
And also breaking the cycle of menopause being like, don't talk.
I know we talk about menopause.
Right.
Yeah.
But for others, it's taboo.
It's taboo.
Yeah, I really I try to top this because especially when folks get in their own way when they have for people who have I want to say it's a transgender woman who speaks to the issue of, well, we don't want to talk periods and pads and all those things. And I'm thinking, well, you don't get to have that experience of period, of menopause, of the things that we actually have to endure and go through, and then have to navigate life and figure that out. It's like that is all bypass in your journey in womanhood, but our journey in womanhood really includes that, and you can't deny it, demean it, belittle it, and it's also the not being talked about enough in our community for men to understand what that experience is going to be, especially to say a woman has to have a hysterectomy due to
Uterine fibroid tumors.
or due to a pregnancy gone awry, right? And then they're in the midst of having a C-section and like, we're going to give you a hysterectomy at the same time. Hey, going to take everything. And here you are in your 30s, or here you could be in your 20s. And what that leads to, that can lead to early menopause, the heavy menopause or early menopause onset. It can also lead to what people don't acknowledge. The other things people don't talk about is the uh uterine the prolapse, and so people don't have any clue of what all is entailed in that journey. So it's really sure just got so deep. I think just wait. So that might be why we need it now, right? It's active.
So going back to twofold here, right? We talk about health equity and we don't have access to all of those things that you menopause, you're gonna, you're gonna have to have your ovaries taken away, or and that's it. But there's so many more modalities and research that we don't have access to. That is very important. I know we stay on topic here, going back to my feet and how I've been able to, contribute to helping women with their menopause, including myself, and that's the breathing. It is, I mean, just throughout the day. I don't need to go to the gym to do that. I do it in my car, but just pausing throughout our day helps reduce hot flashes. And this is the breathing part. I talked a lot about breathing today, more than I did the sound bath. It also helps with our impulsivity because we will pop off.
Absolutely.
So, and so,
That's the hormone thing.
so there are all these things here. There are all these things, and Maggie the good.
And as I say, if you want to solve a war sense of menopausal women, they will net out.
Exactly.
Sense of menopausal women.
Exactly. So, no, I'm not keeping quiet about that piece and the importance of breathing and healing yourself during this process. But the important piece that, and you guys are going to crack up about this. Anytime I have a hot flash, I'm reminded how sexy I am. Okay. That.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm sorry. I'm still hot and sexy. I'm slay. You're right. And so I
What sex without sweat?
thank you. So thank you, Auntie. Um, what I mean by that is to there's not everything that we're experiencing. Come on, all right.
It's a cycle of life.
It's a cycle of life. So it is a blessing
To be able to experience.
to be able to experience that.
So I'm not
Sick out women say so women should tell their age, but I'm going to tell my age because God has given me another day. I'm celebrating that. Rabbi Mark said, you don't supposed to tell your age at a certain time. Oh, no. When God will line up, he's going to know how many seconds I am.
Right.
Now, however, I'm celebrating that. But all of this to say that it's important to really, really tap in to your heart and souls and own who we are. And I mean, I can't say enough about women as a whole. I don't even know, but I know that I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And I don't mean physically here, but I mean wholeheartedly here.
Right.
So here's got 4 names. So first name, Dr. Sherry Maloney.
Okay.
She wrote a book called Grown Women Talk. This is a Black woman doc. She's from Alabama. So a great book. She's going to be on book tour in February 2025. So when she gets to Los Angeles area, we will absolutely do a podcast with her.
Okay.
Grown Women Talk, Sherry Maloney.
Love to hear about that. Yes.
So she's excellent. Okay. I've heard her speak a number of times. We met her in Alabama.
Right.
And then remember the other 3 names. There are 3 together. It is Norman Tume. And so Norman Tume is retired now, so she says, but she was part of the Black Panther Party in Los Angeles who started the health clinics, right? So Norman Tume, Miss Lois King, you might remember Miss Lois King. She was everything worker, definitely. I just say remember we need to call her and see how she doing. Yeah, she's the she is, or was a social worker. She retired from the Alzheimer's Association in Los Angeles. And then Miss Patty Upshaw, Miss Hattie Upshaw cast. Miss Hattie Upshaw ran with dynamic organization that was from his sheltering arms. And you could call if you could call Miss Patty anytime, like Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning. If you had a woman who needed some shelter, she was your person, right?
Right.
So those three women, Miss Fanny, Lois King, Miss K, and Norman Tule came by Black on the Women's one day and gave me a whole lecture on menopause, which I didn't need at the time. Right? I was like, why are they talking to me about this? Right? But now, but I'm like, woo! Right? I mean, they had instead of like them ahead of this is these are the herbs you need. Like, let me tell you about PDC Royal. Let me tell you about this, like that. Then they told me about you wear your hair natural, so you ain't want to worry about when you go out, you fix your hair in the morning and 5 minutes before you get ready to wash that, and so it's gone. Right. They're like, just go ahead and wear it natural. You'll be okay. Right. And then they told me about the linens or cottons or breathable fabrics could go. So she says, they were like, you won't be out there in that synthetics, like sweating and then figure out how to get your clothes dry. Yes. Or looking at big spots, right, of the clothes or something like that. So I was like, yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, it can be bad. And these were our ancestors, it sounds as it.
No, that is the one who's the such. Well, she died this year, just recently. But the rest of them, they are all walking around.
Yeah.
Norma and Dume spends half of her time here and half her time in Orlando, right? So, her skill was putting together infrastructures for organization. Well, yes, putting together infrastructure, and that's what she did with the Black Panther Party, right? That's what she's doing in Orlando now, right? So it's like we know some folks in terms of, and they were so willing and so generous in terms of sharing knowledge with all of us about, what's coming.
Okay.
And what's next. So I'm like, I need to go ask them what's coming now. The last time I saw Norma, I was like, can you take me to Orlando with you?
Text us on up, share. But there is the way to one of the things that I encourage our ancestors and our elders in the community is to write ethical wills.
Okay.
Okay. Ethical wills can no, they're not have any dollars or wealth attached to it. It's tradition, it's values, it's celebration. It's information, right? And it's a document that tells your legacy, and you pass that document on to the next generation. Send this information that you're sharing, and you leave it and you pass it on, and it's so important. And they have workshops too at the
I was say, do you host workshops?
I have not hosted any workshops, but I do know individuals that do. Yeah. When I work with the Department of Geriac over at USC.
Did you ever buy it?
Maybe it's been a while. It's been a while. I did some research in the department while I was in grad school.
But I was say, are you an alum?
I am.
She is too.
And
I am an alum from the Profito School. She doesn't tell anybody.
I'll be our senior. Gigi was very familiar with your mask on. But I also encourage, again, ethical will writing. Everything that you just stated here about you learn this, the books, what you'll go through, that needs to be handed down and handed down in the most celebrated way that we know how. Um, so the other thing is, I know about yada look down braiding, but
We said ancestors. It always just said ancestors and elders.
ancestors and elders. And the other thing is I talk about is I've learned from a group of women that I work with, and is about decolonizing our diet.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
Tell me, how do we do that? What was that?
Yes, it's at the I mean, sugar. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. The things that were brought to us to maybe processed foods, yeah, are the things that it's not about weight. It's about what we're putting inside of our bodies that may keep us a little hotter, flashier. Or why do our body makeup from our white counterpart is different when they go through their? They also have access to medicines that we're not. Yeah, I was research is sugar and oils, all the white stuff. Exactly.
All the white rice, the sugar, the bread, all those things to take out. And like you said, the over processed foods. The other thing is that it was just astonishing. Some of the things I do catch on the internet is talks about what is banned, what foods are banned in our country,
Right.
but are not in other countries. And then I thought
Taboo words.
no banned here. I mean, I'm sorry, you're right. Banned in other countries, but not here.
Well, that's it, because those pharmaceutical companies are banned there, but not here. They can make money off of us.
Right. And so those places you go and live, and there've been a lot of African Americans that have gone over there to work in certain countries and places and have come back 30, 40 pounds lighter. One, they're walking more. Two, the foods they have to be eaten in a certain amount of time. You go to the grocery store, you have to eat that. They're fresher there. And so and they're not just like hoarding up stuff and holding it on the shelves and things of that nature. So
But it doesn't have a 3-year shelf life effect. So every time I bought a tomato and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit it here and see how long it will be before it get rotten.
Right. Exactly. Cost well, our cost for food, our cost for foods here versus there. I mean, say no more.
right.
So it makes a big difference.
So, but what do you mean when you say decolonize your diet?
Is going back to our cultural foods. It's garden, going back to the garden of removing starches from our foods.
And do that if you live in an urban environment with one of those high pay jobs.
How do we do that? And it's hard.
And maybe just by even naming those starches, maybe how it was so funny to me. I'm not telling you this yesterday. One of my colleagues that I don't even know if you remember Shametta, but you probably met Shametta through the BIH or early days in well, I don't say I believe she is. But anyway, no, she brought up, she's like, yeah, because I used to go with Jam was doing the cooking classes with Do Black Women for Wellness. I'm like, they still have kitchen divas. And so people don't know that they're still there. So it would be good to have a decolonization kitchen divas. Yeah, how we decolonize our day.
And now I'm on to the international kick.
Yeah, also, we saw that Gazan going as a good, that's right. We saw a lot of disease shoot up when a lot of our men were incarcerated. Our moms were left to go to work, and you better believe through the drive-through, because I'm trying to do these things and go to work. How convenient was that? And
Yeah.
it's a continuance of it. You have to be mindful of it. I mean, I'm a product of that. I'm a single. Yeah, I have 2 kids. Oh yes, I've gone through the drive-through and try to just put whatever I can on the table to get some food. And I think that the systems have really, really preyed on that, and we just need to be a little more.
We just need to get it back because back in the day when you and I were coming up, Jam's coming up, it was a treat to go. You didn't just go to McDonald's every day of the week. You I didn't even make it 2 days out the week. You went, maybe even once. Yeah, I was like, it was like maybe once or twice a month. At that, it was the treat. It was not the norm.
Let me tell you my McDonald's story.
Okay.
And there's not one McDonald's on the west side. Maybe one, you got to find it.
Well, I do know this. There are 3 Gibb Powell's on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard between the Harbor Freeway and this office. And not only are there 3 McDonald's, there are 0 grocery stores. 0.
Yeah.
But you can go when you got mom and pop, you have with a couple of different issues.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
So 0 grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
but 3 McDonald's, a Jack in the Box, and various other fast food joints. So it is with intention
Yeah.
that we are being fed. And let's not call it fast food. Let's call it fast something else because it's not real
Their food.
right? It's just what it is.
Right.
So when I think about for me what decolonizer food is, I'm thinking about well, are we talking about one, yeah, taking out the processing, right? How can we stop with all that processed food? Because the processed food has those empty calories that stick around forever, right? But that also means, where do I get a salad? And
Right.
how do I get a fresh salad? How then they could do I reorientate my children
Right.
to eating fresh food and letting know what fresh food tastes like because if you have a garden and grow tomatoes, they're gonna be real different than them tomatoes that you did at Ralph's. Just in terms of taste.
Right.
So that's what I think about just in terms of the decolon, taking the corporate out of the food situation, going to the farmer's market, for example, even though there are some corporate farmers, there's some small farmers around here also. It means taking the process so it could be quick out of it, which means you got to do some quote slow cooking, then intentional cooking like that. And that's not easy. That's not easy if you have children. That's not easy if you have a job. And if you have that combination of a job and children, then you got that combination of challenges to make. Yeah, her. Absolutely. So I'm just like, okay, well, what tips, what tools can we give to people in that? Yes, we do have a food distribution program from organic farmers around there. But part of it also is, yes, we talk about, we do have Kitchen Divas, is a food preparation and cooking class with intentional preparation because you don't have to cook everything, right? So we at Black Wonderful Wellness, right, do try to bring those tools, but we know that sometimes we talk a lot of ideals, yes, but people's reality means that it's a process to get to those ideals. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take her back to decolonization before we flip and wrap up around abundance, what you might have to share about abundance.
Yes,
And ancestors.
yeah, and what you were just saying, I believe is curriculum, like bringing mm, healthy a curriculum study to schools, and that letting that being elected to our children in the schools. So I've and yes, abundance. Um, Again, the ancestral. I'll jump right into the ancestral part. The ancestral part really is about holding on to traditions and values, being able to tell these stories, talking about the ethical wills that we can leave, and honoring them. It's very difficult in these days because we are a different generation than our families. Were forced into the workforce. We are sitting in major roles, and that's great. But we also are moms, and we're caring for communities. And how do we do all that at the same time? Be able to honor our ancestral role.
Mm.
But it's hard because we as Black women have to be so strong, and we find ourselves disciplining and less nurturing to our children. So our ancestors were at home. They didn't go to work, and it was different. And I believe this generation, us, have lost that. Again, the divorce rate shot up because we went to work. Lots of different things. How do we get back to the nurturing space and also being able to be healthy in that space?
I mean, I probably would agree to disagree because there was a number that still had to work.
And right here to work.
Yeah,
The generation a long time ago.
yeah, no, but I mean, even in that, if you go back with the slavery concepts, the constructs of slavery, right? Some might have been in a big house, but some were still working out in the fields, right? And the men were brought in to move from house to house. They weren't brought to stay in any house. They were just really brought to seed, plant, and go on. So some got the opportunity to try to create family and keep it under the radar. But even if that was even suspected or learned, then they would break that up and break them apart and send him over here, maybe the children over there, and just constantly keep that flowing. And then when you get to, there were some that post slavery were able to marry, but there were many that were left, to raise their own children throughout and down the generations. That, you know, the men might, and even the sons might just up and leave and never look back. Like, you might have thought your child actually disappeared, but then maybe they went off to join the war or they went off to try to figure out how to navigate this space and place. And back then, it wasn't a lot of communication to get back. Because I know my grandfather was one of those that left his family in Texas, and then he later connected with his siblings, some of his siblings and stuff. But a lot of that was lost art. And even though he had married and had children, and then my grandmother, she was married and then divorced and raising children and living with my great grandmother, them together, and all of that. So it just depends. There were variations throughout. But again, my Jan said we were brought here to work. We weren't really brought here. The concept, there was never a concept for us to have family here in this here America. It was never that was never their mindset. And it's still really not their mindset. We developed because that's where we came from too. But
I think we developed it because we have a history. Our history didn't start with that period of enslavement and stuff. And the reason why there was this whole period of enslavement is because Africans were developing the African continent, and that had to be interrupted, right? Well, we had universities at University of Timbuktu. We had we built pyramids, we built temples. Everybody had a role, and we all had diets and nutrition, and we all had history, and we had culture. We had music, all of that stuff, right? And then that was interrupted, right? And with this whole period of enslavement. And, I think low numbers are 60 million, high numbers are 100 million people that were disappeared, never to be seen again, right, in the African continent, right? So if we think about that, it's like, how can we go past this middle passage, Maafa, right, to an ancient time in terms of what was what was a lifestyle like that, right? I don't think that there was ever a period where we quote weren't working. It was a period of where our work was family. Yeah, work was community. Our work was culture. It wasn't about building a corporation, right? And with that type of work and with that type of lifestyle, I think even with this whole thing on nuclear family, even we talk mom, dad, and kids, that wasn't the family structure there. It was the village. It was the family compound.
right.
It was the aunties and uncles. It was the cousins, etc. So no nuclear family was left to try to make it by themselves, which also then meant a different definition of work, right? So it was lots of folks going to garden and gather the food. It was lots of folks going to hunt and gather the food. It was lots of folks who were charged with preparing the food or with making a home comfortable. And if we're thinking about what are the ideals or culture or things that ideals or concepts that we can bring from that time to here, and then how can we apply it here? That's a whole different conversation.
Yes.
And I think about that because we talking about what at least 425 years in that past, right? And so much has changed that we need to figure out what's new. What's our vision for the future and how will we communicate with our ancestors and our elders about the future and how to build a future with a vision we want, not the nightmare that they had created, but it's a vision that I want.
That abundance and wealth that you speak of. So, want to give you the opportunity to close out with any party words on the whole healing, um, aunties, abundance, ancestors in the world, right? And the work that you're doing, okay, in community.
Just a short commercial so we know how to
That's- you guys are awesome.
Some just a wealth of information and aunties and cousins don't exist that much anymore. And I find myself calling just my sisters, my aunties and cousins, just because I'm trying to hold on to what, our families had. We don't have a lot of that anymore. That is abundance. Um, I think about what you were saying. Oh, my organization. Well, I'm with Bless and Abundance on behalf of Tisha, who asked me to come here today. But also, my name is Cheyenne once again. And my Instagram page is CIONE. And you can book through Soundbath through there and just reach out and stay in touch. If you need me to come do a sound bath for you, I love to do that. You guys are, I mean, we're family.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. But we could absolutely do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, listen, thank you, and we're glad we were able to welcome you to your first podcast. Thank you.
I mean, after Mirror Talk, we jumped to like 2 or 3 different topics. This is what we do. I love it. I think if we talk about health, we talk about wealth, we talk about family, relationship. Oh, let's stop all those things. Stop.
Pause. Exactly. We just with talent. I'm to say it. Too light. What do we got? Opinions.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.